Alright, so testing your content is absolutely essential if you want to get success with running ads on social media. In this video, I'm basically gonna tell you why you have to test, what you'll get out of testing, and at last, let you know what you can test right now in order to be more successful in your advertising. So I'm Nicolai, I'm the co-founder of NDS Marketing, and I run this agency that solely focuses on scaling fashion brands on social media. And without further ado, let's get started with the video. Alright, so the first question you might ask if you've never done any testing before is, why is it important to test? And there's a lot of reasons on why it is important and why it's absolutely essential for that matter. But the first thing I actually want to say to this is ask yourself, what is the chance of you hitting it right the first time? So if you are in the beginning phase of running Facebook ads, whatever kind of ads basically, for your fashion brand or any other brand for that matter, well, how can you be certain that the ad you created the first time is, the indicator of what you can get out of ads? Like, don't you think it can be improved? Do you really think that is the best you can do? Because let me tell you something that I've learned in advertising is that your subjective opinion, yes, can have an influence on your results, but at the same time, you have to be objective with a lot of stuff, and you can't never be certain that what you have right now is the best thing or is giving you the best results, because there are always something else that you can try out that potentially could give you better results. Some other factors that play into why it's important to test is, for example, saturation. So saturation basically means when there's too much of the same content out in the market. So a great example could, for example, be the UGC content, right? UGC content right now is absolutely booming and probably will for a period of time too. But at some point, it will be so saturated that UGC content basically might, or not basically, but might not be as efficient as it is today. And that is probably due to basically every brand out there is utilizing UGC content, meaning that in the end, you don't really stand out. You don't really create this, uniqueness that you will need to have to ultimately get success with your advertising, right? Another thing is changes in season, and I mean, if you're a fashion brand owner, you know all about this. Like advertising for, advertising Christmas products in the summer probably wouldn't make sense for a lot of brands, right? And changes in season basically, is a great indicator on why it's important to test, because the aesthetic of how you do advertising can be different in regard to, for example, winter or summer or fall or spring for that matter, because the desires, they will change in terms of the season, which is why that you have to stay up to date, right? And which is why you have to test whether or not the winner ad you had in December, for example, also will work in February, March, or you actually need to create something new to ultimately, beat this winner ad that you've had for the winter time with something new, rather than, just running the same ad the whole year round, right? Another thing is also changes in the market, and this could, for example, be products, right? I mean, let's say that you're selling white t-shirts. Well, what would happen if suddenly a change in the market will arise, right? I mean, you have to stay up to date in that regard, and usually when there's changes in market, that means that a lot of the stuff that worked before wouldn't work after the change in the market, meaning that you have to stay up to date, you have to test out new things to ultimately get the best results, right? Another thing is basically changes in trend, and this is, again, for example, UGC. So let's say, before the UGC content was, efficient, usually you had another style of doing advertisement, but then the UGC content came forward, and with that, there's a change in trend, right? And by testing, you can basically adjust your advertisement style and not make it so monotone. Even though it might have created you some great results in the past, it wouldn't mean that they will create you the same results in the future necessarily. And obviously much more. I could do a whole video about why it's important to test, but yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot more to it, and obviously I think what you really want to get out of this video is to know what exactly you need to do to ultimately be more efficient in testing and get better results, right? So I just want to quickly go through what you could potentially achieve by doing some testing properly. And the first thing is improve your ROI, because let's say you've had an ad which is doing good. I mean, they could, for example, give you a return on ad spend on 3x, and you're satisfied. But well, what would happen if you suddenly created a new ad and that got a 4x? And just because you locked yourself in your mind that the 3x was you were satisfied with that, well, by testing something new and then achieving a 4x, well, then you suddenly improve your ROI, and you also improve your paradigm about what testing can do for you. Because ultimately you should never be satisfied with your advertisement results, because first of all of these things can happen, meaning that you should always be proactive in your testing, and also because that you can never ever be sure that the results that you're getting right now is the absolute max, the absolute best result you can get. Another thing is understanding your audience, and this is basically, a lot of things can play into this. I mean, you can test different kinds of content, formats, targeting, whatever, to ultimately get to understand your ideal customer persona, right? And again, if you just kind of create some ads and let them run without testing anything up against them, well, how can you become more wiser on your ideal customer persona? So again, testing also gives you a lot of knowledge into a lot of things, and audience is one of them. The next one is obviously the market, and again, it kind of plays into what I've said about the audience. You can also increase engagement, because obviously when you run ads, you will have these potential customers that probably will see your ad 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times, and by each time they'll get more tired of it, right? So by continuously putting new ads in front of them will also increase the engagement, right? Because when they see your ad the first time, well, they are attracted by it. It captures their attention. But when they see it for the 10th time, they're just gonna scroll right past it, right? Also, enhance brand messaging, because your brand messaging is obviously a very, very important factor in your brand, but also in your advertisement. And yes, you may have some values that you want to express, right? But the way you kind of phrase it, the way you kind of structure your brand messaging will ultimately get better the more you test, right? Because in some cases, like, it's only one sentence that you have to change to increase your results drastically, and that is only due to some words that you kind of plug and play in different ways, or you just basically rephrase the brand messaging you had in your previous ad and test it against something, a new rephrasing way of your brand messaging to ultimately enhance it, right? Also, adapt to market changes. I've already also talked about this. Reduce risks. This is also very, very important, because you're basically gambling everything. You're basically gambling all of your ad budget when you're just running an ad and never do anything else, right? I mean, again, as I said, by testing, you'll get wiser upon what works, and you are reducing risks when you're becoming wiser, right? I mean, that's obvious. Also, improve click-through rate, and this is also in kind of alignment with increased engagement. I mean, they might click on your ad when they see it for the first time, but when they see it for the 10th time, they wouldn't, they wouldn't click on it probably. Also, you improve your click-through rate, because over time you'll get wiser upon what works, meaning that if you were running an ad that weren't really successful, and you were structuring your ad text, your picture, video, whatever, in a certain way that didn't work, well then you know that you have to do something different, right? And when you're doing something different, that may improve your click-through rate. And at last, optimize your ad spend, because obviously the more wiser you get, the more you will know on what works, meaning that you will get more results for each dollar you're spending on ads. And at last, which is the most important one, and that is to learn from the data. And this is also what I've just been telling you about, that the data basically shows you what you don't have to do and what you have to do. And that is what ultimately is the whole reason for testing, because like you want to when you're advertising, you want to get the most out of your ad budget, which is the thing I've written right here. And you're doing that by testing, because it's very, very hard for the average advertiser to figure out exactly what works from the first, from launch, right? From the first ad, it's nearly impossible to figure out, which is why that you always have to try and be proactive and test out new stuff. And with all of this being said, like the thing with testing is that if I create a graph right here, that your results, they wouldn't go like this, right? They will do this. So they will increase exponentially, meaning that they will go up like this, because obviously here in the beginning you're testing a lot of stuff, and you're getting a little bit wiser, a little bit wiser, a little bit wiser, and then suddenly you crack the code because you've learned from all of your data, meaning that the results just go like this because you know what works and you are not doing any mistakes, meaning that it's just efficient, right? So moving further on from this, what is the most efficient way to test content? And I have the philosophy that the scientific method is the best way to do that. And basically what the scientific method is that you are having two identical ads, but you're changing one variable. And what variable could that be? Well, that could be ad format, for example. So that could be videos, pictures, carousels, dynamic product ads. I mean, obviously some of these things aren't really, that is kind of the essence of the ad, right? So you shouldn't test a video and a DPA, for example. I mean, you can test a video and a picture, but a video and a DPA is not really, how can you say it? It's not really a variable that's too close to each other to ultimately make the test efficient, if that makes sense. Another thing is the ad copy. You can change the text, you can change the visual elements in your videos, pictures, carousels, dynamic product ads. You can test the targeting, the demographic, the location, yes, wonderful writing right here. You can change the landing page, and you can change the campaign structure. For example, Advantage Plus versus a manual broad, awareness campaign versus traffic campaign. There is a lot of ways you can go on about it. And just to give you kind of a visual representation of what a split test or a test would look like. So you're kind of calling a test based on the scientific method for a split test. So as you can see here in my wonderful drawing, that we have two ads right here with the exactly same ad text, copywriting, right here. But the only difference in these two ads is that in this picture it's a close-up, and in this picture it's like a full body picture, right? And basically what you do is that you're running these nearly identical ads up against each other for, depending on how much budget you're using, but I would say from 5 days to a week is an acceptable testing period. And then you'll get results like this, right? So you can see over here that, okay, this ad has spent 123 euros. This ad has spent 560 euros. So already right here, we can see that, well, Meta prefers to spend money on this ad, which is a sign that Meta deems this ad to be the one that will generate the best results. Going into sales, this ad has generated 2 sales in the past week. This ad has generated 6 sales for a value of 307, and over here for 2,352. And the ROAS of this ad is 2.5, and the ROAS of this ad is 4.2. So right here we have some very, very valuable knowledge, because we know that the only thing, I mean, the key takeaway here is, how I'm gonna put it, is that the full body picture outperformed the close-up picture, and that is a valuable learning to go into our next test, right? Because then we will have 2 ads right here. That's a really bad drawing, I know, but we have 2 ads right here where we'll both use a full body picture. Now this is just an example, but to kind of go from this test down to this one, we know that the full body picture won. So now we are creating two ads with the full body picture, and then we are, for example, testing the text, right? So up here we have one text, and over here we have another text. And by that, after a week, we'll see which one wins. Let's say it's this one, and then we go down here, and then it basically, you know, just compounds on top of each other, right? And doing that over a certain period of time will basically leave you with this graph right here, because this is the first step which we just did. This is the second one which we just did, and now we're just doing it and doing it and doing it until the results start doing like this, right? So I really hope you get my point here. At last, I just want to give you a tool to kind of have a structure on all of your testing. So basically what I'm using in my, let me just remove this. What I'm using in my agency is a document like this. And basically, first of all, I'll put this in the description. You can basically just go in and make a copy of this. So basically how this works is that, let's say you have more in your team. You will just write Nicolai. So today it's July 20th. And we're just doing NDS test 1. And we're doing a video right here. And these two you gotta leave at first, because you're just gonna fill these out if it is a winning ad, right? So over here at status, you will either choose losing, learning, or winning. So when the test is running, you are gonna pick learning, right? So basically what you can do here is that you can explain what you're testing to yourself, just to have like noted down, right? And then over here, you can choose an ad type. So basically you can pick here whether or not the ad is an iteration, an imitation, an ideation, it's a raw ad, or it's a promo. And the ad variable here, well, what are you specifically testing? Are you testing the messaging in the ad, the hook in the ad, and the image in the ad? And over here, you have the confidence. I feel this is a very, very interesting factor to have in this document, because what I've learned over time is that what you think will work may not actually be true. And basically a lot of the things you probably think wouldn't work are actually generating you good results, obviously to some extent, right? But having the confidence column right here kind of remind yourself of that you shouldn't always believe that what you think are right is the thing that will work, if that makes sense. And at last, you have your learnings over here, where you can basically write down. So for example, in the example here, we can say that the full body picture outperformed the close-up, right? As he says that. And yeah, that is basically how we do testing in NDS marketing. And yeah. So that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're struggling to do this stuff yourself and are wasting your precious time figuring this out, well, you can actually click the link in the description below. By doing that, we can just have a casual talk about how my company can help yours solve this and all of your other digital marketing problems. If we are a match, I will try to pitch a potential partnership. I'm not going to pretend I'm not, but obviously I don't want to force you to click the link. All I wanted to do with this video is to provide some free, great value for you. But I mean, I just still wanted to highlight the opportunity in case you are interested. So yeah, that's it. Please like the video if you found it valuable. That will help us a lot. And the algorithm of YouTube will actually also recommend you more videos like this for the future. So it will also be great for you if you found these videos interesting. You are also more than welcome to comment any suggestions, problems, struggles, whatever you might have, and I'll do my best to make a video on it. And at last, please subscribe if you would like to see more content from us. That's all for me today. I'm Nicolai, and I wish you a wonderful day. Bye.